Imagine waking up one morning, looking in the mirror and realizing that you've unknowingly been sabotaging your own health, happiness, and independence, not because of any big decision, but because of tiny daily habits that feel harmless until they aren't. This video is not about fear, it's about freedom. The freedom to reclaim your strength, your relationships, and your joy starting today. As a doctor who has spent over 3 decades working with older adults, I've seen firsthand how subtle lifestyle choices can lead to big health consequences or transformations. Some of the most vibrant, energized seniors I've worked with didn't have perfect health or wealth, but they did have the courage to make small but powerful changes. And so can you. Stick with me until the end, because we're not just discussing the what, we're diving deep into the why with real-life stories, practical medical advice, and the emotional truths that most people are too afraid to talk about. If you're over 60 or love someone who is, this may be the most important video you watch this year. Let's begin. Habit number 1, skipping physical activity, resting into ruin. Physical movement isn't just a good idea, it's a necessity, especially in our later years. Unfortunately, many older adults fall into the trap of thinking that rest equals safety. They believe that by moving less, they'll avoid injury or strain. But the opposite is often true. The body, much like a machine, begins to break down faster when it's not being used regularly. I remember a patient of mine, Linda, a retired elementary school teacher. At 72, Linda was still sharp, witty and full of life, at least mentally. But physically, she had all but given up. After a minor fall in her kitchen, she became terrified of another accident. Instead of facing her fear, she withdrew from walking altogether. She spent most of her days seated, watching TV or reading books. Within just a few months, she began experiencing swelling in her legs, aching joints, shortness of breath during simple tasks, and even signs of mild depression. Her world had shrunk, not because of her age, but because of her inactivity. I encouraged her to try something simple, a 5-minute walk up and down her hallway twice a day. It seemed insignificant, almost silly at first, but with each passing week she gained more stamina and more trust in her own body. Eventually, Linda began joining a local senior walking group. The transformation was more than physical. She smiled more, laughed more, and expressed a renewed sense of purpose. She told me, "I didn't realize how much I missed feeling alive until I started moving again." This isn't just Linda's story, it's a reality for countless seniors. When physical activity declines, so does nearly every other system in the body. Muscles begin to atrophy from disuse, joints stiffen and become prone to injury, blood circulation slows down, which impacts heart health, energy levels, and even cognitive function. Inactivity also increases the risk of developing chronic diseases such as type 2 diabetes, osteoporosis, arthritis, and heart disease. But the impact doesn't stop with the body. There is a profound mental and emotional toll. The less a person moves, the more they may begin to internalize a sense of helplessness. Depression, anxiety, and a fear of becoming a burden can slowly take over. I've seen once independent individuals begin to doubt their ability to care for themselves, not because their bodies gave out, but because they stopped asking them to function. This is why I always tell my patients, you don't have to train like an athlete, but you do need to move like your life depends on it, because it does. Start small, 10 minutes a day. That's all it takes to begin reclaiming your strength and your spirit. The key isn't intensity, it's consistency. And yes, there are safe ways to move, even with limited mobility. Chair exercises are a wonderful place to start. They improve flexibility, boost circulation, and gently reintroduce the body to movement. Gentle yoga, either seated or standing, helps improve balance, coordination, and posture. It also encourages deep breathing and mindfulness, which reduce stress and enhance emotional well-being. Dancing is another joyful option. You don't need to go to a class or perform routines. Just put on your favorite music at home and sway to the rhythm. Even simple arm movements or foot taps can lift your mood and get your heart pumping. Movement, when paired with something you enjoy, becomes more than exercise. It becomes medicine for the soul. For those who feel unsteady on their feet, using assistive devices like walkers or holding onto the back of a sturdy chair can make all the difference. There's no shame in taking precautions. In fact, it's wise. What's important is not how you move, but that you move. And if you're still feeling uncertain, remember this: your body remembers how to move. It's not starting from zero. With encouragement, patience, and compassion, even the most reluctant bodies can find their rhythm again. Don't let the fear of falling steal your ability to rise. Aging gracefully doesn't mean sitting still. It means learning how to keep dancing with life, one step at a time. Habit number 2, avoiding social interaction, the silent killer. You may not realize it, but loneliness can be as deadly as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That's not an exaggeration. It's a scientific fact supported by research from institutions like Harvard and the World Health Organization. And yet it's one of the most overlooked threats to the health and well-being of older adults. I've seen it with my own eyes. Seniors who seemed perfectly healthy, full of stories, laughter, and life, slowly fade into silence and decline, not from illness, but from isolation. One of the clearest examples I remember is a man named Harold. He used to be a dynamic figure in our community. He owned a small business, led local meetings, and could work a room like a seasoned politician. But after his wife passed away, something changed. At first, it was subtle. He declined a few invitations, missed a couple of community gatherings. Then he stopped answering his phone altogether. Before long, his once bright personality became a shadow of itself. His memory began to falter. He started forgetting names, repeating stories, and withdrawing into himself. He wasn't physically sick, but his spirit, his mental and emotional vitality was slipping away. The truth is, the human brain was never designed to function in isolation. Social interaction stimulates cognitive processes, supports emotional regulation, and even boosts immune function. When we interact with others, when we laugh, share stories, argue, comfort, or simply listen, our brain gets a workout. It's like going to the gym, but for your mind and soul. Researchers have found that regular social engagement can reduce the risk of dementia by up to 40%. It's more powerful than crossword puzzles or memory games. Why? Because real human connection requires complex mental coordination, reading facial expressions, responding to emotional cues, remembering details, and offering empathy. And yet, so many older adults fall into the trap of isolation. Sometimes it starts with a move to a quieter neighborhood. Other times it follows retirement or the loss of a spouse. The days grow quieter. The phone rings less often. Friends get busy. Children move away, and gradually a wall builds, not made of bricks, but of silence. But here's the good news. Reconnection doesn't require grand gestures. You don't need to host a big event or travel the world. Sometimes all it takes is one phone call a week, a short walk with a neighbour, volunteering at the local library, joining a knitting circle or book club. Even video calls, for those willing to learn a bit of technology, can rekindle a sense of connection. I once encouraged a woman named Ruth, a retired teacher, to join a weekly storytelling group at the community centre. At first, she was hesitant. She hadn't spoken in front of a group in years. But after a few weeks, she found herself laughing again, sharing childhood memories, and even mentoring younger participants. Her energy returned, her memory sharpened. Most importantly, she felt seen again. Human connection isn't a luxury, it's medicine. It lowers stress hormones like cortisol, it reduces inflammation, it boosts serotonin and dopamine, the feel-good chemicals that help regulate mood and energy. And perhaps most importantly, it gives people a reason to get out of bed in the morning. You may think, I don't want to burden others, or I'm fine on my own. But the truth is, someone out there needs your presence just as much as you need theirs. Maybe it's a grandchild who wants to hear your stories. Maybe it's a neighbour who's struggling silently. Or maybe it's someone else at your senior centre who feels just as alone as you do. Don't wait for loneliness to become your silent killer. Fight back with connection. Reach out, speak up, say yes to invitations. Your life, your vitality depends on it. So today, pick up the phone, send that text, smile at someone new. You never know whose life you might change, including your own. Habit number 3, ignoring sleep hygiene. Trading rest for restlessness. One of the most overlooked aspects of senior health is sleep. Over the years, I've heard countless older patients say, I guess I just don't sleep well anymore. Must be my age. But let me tell you something that might surprise you. Poor sleep is not an inevitable part of aging. It's a common myth, and one that's silently doing a great deal of harm. As we age, our sleep patterns do naturally change. We might feel sleepy earlier in the evening, wake up earlier in the morning, or experience lighter sleep. But that doesn't mean poor sleep should be accepted as a given. In fact, insufficient or poor quality sleep can have cascading effects on nearly every part of an older adult's well-being, from accelerated cognitive decline to a greater risk of falls and weakened immune function. The cost of sleep deprivation is high. Let's start with the brain. A good night's rest is when the brain performs its deep cleaning, literally. During deep sleep, the brain clears out waste products, consolidates memories, and resets itself for the day ahead. When this process is disrupted night after night, seniors may notice not just forgetfulness, but confusion, mood changes, and even signs of early dementia. I've had patients come in worried about memory loss, thinking they were developing Alzheimer's, only to find their symptoms greatly improved with better sleep hygiene. Then there's the matter of physical health. One of the most dangerous consequences of poor sleep in older adults is the increased risk of falls. When the body and mind are not adequately rested, coordination and balance suffer, reaction times slow. One misstep on the stairs or a stumble in the bathroom in the middle of the night can change a life forever. And let's not forget the immune system, your first line of defense against illness. Sleep is the time when your immune cells regenerate. Chronic sleep deprivation leaves the body vulnerable to infections, inflammation, and even chronic diseases. So, what can be done? The answer is not found in sleeping pills or simply hoping things get better on their own. It lies in something both simple and profound, creating a sacred wind-down routine. Begin by establishing a consistent bedtime and wake-up time, even on weekends. This helps reset your circadian rhythm, the internal clock that governs when you feel sleepy and alert. Next, remove screens, TVs, smartphones, and tablets from your nighttime routine. The blue light they emit tricks your brain into thinking it's still daylight, suppressing melatonin, the hormone that makes you sleepy. Instead, make your bedroom a sanctuary for rest. Turn down the lights an hour before bed. Drink a cup of warm herbal tea. Chamomile, lavender, or lemon balm are excellent choices. These natural herbs promote calmness and relaxation without the side effects of medication. I often recommend patients keep a sleep basket beside their bed. It can include a journal to jot down any lingering worries, a soft eye mask, a lavender sachet, and a book of poetry or spiritual wisdom. Breathing exercises are another underrated but powerful tool. Deep, intentional breathing not only calms the mind but signals to the body that it's time to rest. Try this simple exercise. Inhale slowly through your nose for a count of 4, hold for 4, and exhale through your mouth for 6. Repeat this cycle 5 to 10 times as you lie in bed. You'll be surprised how quickly your mind lets go of the day's stress. I remember one of my patients, a 72-year-old woman named Helen, who struggled with insomnia for years. She had been on multiple medications, none of which gave her lasting relief. After reviewing her habits, we discovered that she was watching the evening news right before bed, drinking caffeinated tea, and scrolling social media in bed. We worked together to redesign her evenings, swapping out the news for soft instrumental music, caffeine for chamomile, and screen time for light journaling. Within 3 weeks, Helen was falling asleep naturally and staying asleep through the night. The results were astonishing. Her mood improved, her energy came back, and most remarkable of all, her blood sugar levels stabilized. She had been pre-diabetic for years, but restoring her circadian rhythm helped her body regulate itself in ways no medication had managed to do. Sleep is not just rest, it's restoration. It's not indulgence, it's necessity. In your younger years, your body might have gotten away with all-nighters and erratic schedules, but now every hour of good sleep is a gift to your mind, body, and soul. So tonight, ask yourself, am I trading true rest for mindless restlessness? Make the choice to honor your sleep. Treat it like the sacred ritual it is. And you just might wake up not only refreshed, but renewed. Habit number 4, neglecting brain stimulation. A mind left to wilt. As we age, we often hear that forgetfulness is just part of getting older. But what if much of that mental decline isn't inevitable? What if the brain, much like our muscles, withers not with time, but with disuse? A mind left to wilt isn't just a poetic phrase, it's a real and pressing concern for many seniors. Like, one of the most overlooked contributors to cognitive decline is the simple act of doing nothing mentally stimulating. Just like a garden that's neglected begins to rot and dry out, the brain, when not nourished with new ideas, challenges, and creativity, begins to lose its sharpness and vitality. Your brain isn't a sponge that dries up with age, it's a living, adaptable organ that thrives on activity. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself and form new neural connections, doesn't disappear with age. It simply requires more intentional engagement. When you stop challenging your mind, you slowly close the door to your own potential, and that can lead to memory loss, mental fog, and even more serious conditions like dementia. For many older adults, daily routines become repetitive and passive, waking up, watching TV, eating meals, and perhaps taking a walk. While routine can be comforting, too much of it, without mental variety, leads to cognitive stagnation. Television, especially passive viewing, doesn't provide the brain with the kind of stimulation it craves. It entertains, yes, but it doesn't require analysis, problem-solving, or creation. Over time, this passive consumption turns into a kind of mental starvation. Consider the story of Mr. Lee, a retired mechanic from Oregon who, at the age of 78, decided to try something he'd never done before: watercolor painting. His wife had passed away 2 years earlier, and his days had become monotonous and grey. On a whim, he picked up a beginner's painting kit from the local craft store. At first, his work was shaky and simple, but week by week, his paintings began to show depth, colour, and personality. And something else changed too: his memory. His son, David, noticed that Mr. Lee was recalling names, birthdays, and even old childhood stories more vividly than before. "It's like he woke up," David said. "I hadn't seen him this mentally sharp in years." What happened with Mr. Lee isn't a miracle, it's brain stimulation at work. Engaging in new hobbies, especially those that involve creativity and problem-solving, activates different parts of the brain. Learning something unfamiliar, whether it's a musical instrument, a new language, or even how to tend a garden, creates new neural pathways and strengthens existing ones. Brain stimulation isn't limited to the arts. Gardening, for example, involves planning, learning about plant species, soil types, and weather patterns. It connects the mind to the rhythm of nature and provides a peaceful space for reflection and mindfulness. Similarly, learning a new language not only improves memory, but also enhances attention span and decision-making skills. Studies have shown that bilingual individuals, even when they begin learning later in life, have better cognitive flexibility and a lower risk of Alzheimer's disease. Some seniors might feel intimidated by the idea of learning something new. They may say, "It's too late for me," or "My memory isn't what it used to be." But these are myths that hold people back. In truth, starting small is key. Read a book on a topic you've never explored before. Solve a crossword puzzle each morning. Join a local club, whether it's about chess, book discussions, or creative writing. The goal isn't perfection. It's engagement. It's about showing up for your mind every day, the way you would for your body with exercise or nutrition. Mental stimulation also has profound emotional benefits. It gives purpose, increases self-confidence, and reduces the risk of depression and isolation, two common challenges among older adults. Being mentally active brings back a sense of curiosity, exploration, and excitement. It reconnects you with your own capacity to grow, no matter your age. So, if your brain feels like it's been wilting, ask yourself, when was the last time I learned something new? Whether it's a dance class, a poetry course, or a beginner's guide to computer coding, there's always room for growth. Don't let your mind become a forgotten garden. Water it, nurture it, challenge it, because a vibrant mind doesn't age, it evolves. Habit number 5, dwelling on regret. Poisoning the present. Regret is a thief. It creeps in quietly but relentlessly, stealing your peace, clouding your thoughts, and dimming the light of your present moments. It doesn't just linger in the mind, it settles in the body too, showing up as sleepless nights, clenched jaws, aching shoulders, and a heart that never quite feels at rest. As a doctor who has spent decades sitting beside patients nearing the end of life, I've heard countless stories whispered between gasps for air. And let me tell you, it's rarely the sins of commission that torment them, it's the silence. The missed chances, the words that were never spoken, the love that was never expressed, the apology never made, the forgiveness never offered. Most people aren't haunted by what they did, they're haunted by what they didn't do, because they couldn't forgive themselves, or because they waited too long. Regret is like trying to drive forward while staring in the rearview mirror. No matter how powerful your engine is, you're bound to crash. And yet, so many of us live this way, dragging behind us the weight of past mistakes like a heavy anchor, hoping we can somehow make peace with it by replaying it over and over in our minds. But the truth is, you can't fix the past. You can only make peace with it. And peace never comes from punishment, it comes from acceptance. Letting go is not about forgetting. It's not about pretending the past didn't happen. It's about choosing not to let it control you anymore. It's about deciding that your present and your future deserve your full attention. And that begins with an act of courage, facing your regret head on. Maybe there's someone you hurt. Maybe you betrayed your own values. Maybe you stayed silent when you should have spoken. Whatever it is, carry it gently, but don't let it fester. Write that letter, even if you never send it. Make that call, even if it feels uncomfortable. Say, "I'm sorry," without expecting anything in return. Or perhaps most powerfully, forgive yourself. Some people think forgiveness is a gift we give to others, but often the most transformative forgiveness is the one we give to ourselves. Because here's the truth. You are not the same person you were when you made those mistakes. Time has passed, you've grown, you've learned, and holding yourself hostage to an outdated version of who you were does nothing but poison your present. Life doesn't happen yesterday. It doesn't happen tomorrow. It only happens now, in this breath, in this heartbeat, in this fleeting moment you are reading these words. The present is not just a moment, it's a gift. And every time we dwell on regret, we are choosing to unwrap that gift only to throw it aside. Healing begins the moment we allow ourselves to be present without judgment. That doesn't mean we ignore the past. It means we honor it by learning from it. You made a mistake? Good. That means you're human. You're still thinking about it. That means you care. Now take that care and turn it into action. Call your sibling you haven't spoken to in years. Visit the grave of someone you wronged and speak your truth. Apologize to the child you yelled at in anger. Look in the mirror and tell the version of you from years ago you did the best you could with what you knew. And if that feels hard, start smaller. Light a candle, breathe deeply, whisper, "I am learning to let go." We are all carrying something. We've all done things we wish we hadn't. But if you allow your past to be the story you live by, you rob yourself of the chance to become something more. The past is a chapter, not the whole book. So don't let regret be the poison that seeps into every corner of your life. Name it, acknowledge it, and then release it, again and again if you must. Because joy doesn't come from a perfect life. It comes from a life that's lived fully, flaws and all, with open hands and an open heart. The present moment is all you truly have, and you deserve to live it free. These 5 habits aren't just bad, they're dangerous. But here's the truth that too many people forget. You are not powerless. The ability to reshape your life, even after 60, 70 or 80 years, still rests in your hands. That's not just wishful thinking. It's science, it's psychology, and it's the quiet truth whispered by countless people who chose to change and did. Aging well isn't about having perfect genes or never falling ill. It's not about keeping wrinkles away or pretending to be younger than you are. It's about the quiet, consistent decisions you make every single day. It's about showing up for yourself with patience, with kindness, and with courage. It's the moment you say no more to habits that drain you, whether it's poor sleep, toxic thoughts, unhealthy food, or neglecting your body. It's choosing to say yes to movement, to laughter, to meaningful conversation, to self-respect, and to joy. And it's never too late to begin. Think of your life like a book. Some chapters were hard, some were joyful, some you wish you could rewrite, but the final chapters haven't been written yet, and you get to hold the pen, no one else, you. So I challenge you, right now today, pick just one habit to shift. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for the right time. The right time is now. Walk for 10 minutes after your morning coffee. Call that old friend you've been meaning to reconnect with. Turn off your screens an hour before bedtime and listen to soft music or read a book instead. Open the window, feel the sun on your skin, and take 5 deep breaths of fresh air. Write down one regret, one burden you've been silently carrying, then tear it up or even burn it and let it go. Not because it didn't matter, but because you matter more. Remember this, you're not too old, you're not too late, your life is not behind you. There's a reason you're still here. You still have things to give, stories to tell, love to feel, and peace to enjoy. Your heart is still beating. That means you still have time to heal. Your hands can still move. That means you can still create. Your mind is still sharp. That means you can still learn, reflect, and grow. If even one part of today's video made you pause, if it made you reflect on how you've been treating yourself, then that awareness is already the start of something new, something better. Let go of shame. Let go of the belief that change is behind you. Because the truth is simple, your best chapters may still be ahead of you. Thank you, truly, for spending this time with me today. If this video touched your heart, made you smile, or helped you see one small habit differently, I would love to hear from you. Leave a comment below. Share your story. Let us know what habit you're going to shift, big or small. Sometimes your words will inspire someone else who's silently struggling, and together we create a ripple effect of healing and growth. If this message helped you, please hit the like button. It lets us know this content is making a difference. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to Golden Years Balance for more heartfelt wisdom blended with practical health strategies, spiritual guidance, and emotional strength, specially created for you in your golden years. You are not walking this path alone. You are not invisible. You are not forgotten. You are valued. You are loved. And the truth is, you might just be entering the richest, wisest, most meaningful phase of your life. So be gentle with yourself. Take one step today and keep writing your story. One habit, one breath, one day at a time. We'll be here with you every step of the way. See you in the next video. Let me know if you'd like to adapt this for a male narrator, change the tone, or make any adjustments. I'm happy to assist.